All right, let's continue with more reaction now. I am joined by Simamkele Fatuse from the Right to Know campaign. Simamkele, thank you very much for your time. Now, I know that this was not necessarily the scope of the panel that was investigating Phala, particularly the panel that was headed by the former Chief Justice Sandile Ngcobo. But do you feel as though we actually know what happened? Did they fulfill our right to know what happened, even though they were only supposed to investigate what they were given, right? But when you look at this report, when I'm reading through it, it's his word against another. I asked them to investigate this, but the person says, no, I'm not mandated to investigate it. So do we really know what happened yet?
Well, thank you for having me, and good morning, good afternoon to yourself, and good afternoon to your viewers. I do think that we do know what happened. We do know that the law was broken.
Yeah.
We do know that the president did break his moral code or principles that are set out clearly in the Constitution. We might not really know the entire story, but at least we know that the president did keep foreign currency in his private residence. And we know that he did not declare that. We know that he did not report the crime. So we do know something, and we do know, at least from what we have, which he also admitted, we can safely say that we know that something happened and it was unlawful and it was unethical from his side, at least.
And it looks like it's going to grow a bit of legs. I mean, you read in the report that there's an NPA investigator, Mr. Joubert, I think I read in the report, who investigated this particular case, but it was never even reported at the police station in Bela or anywhere in Limpopo. So how does the NPA also then step in to help investigate the theft?
Well, I think the panel has clearly stated that something has happened, and the president has violated the sections as clearly stated in the report. So the next step, according to me, or should I say, the NPA is now obliged to make some investigations, conduct some investigation, so that the president can such a thing will happen, because that's the only way we can have trust in this democracy, and that's the only way that the strength of our constitutional democracy can be tested, when the president himself is actually charged.
Now, a lot of people would say the way forward is quite obvious. It's for the president to step down and, vacate his position. But if he doesn't, how do you think he'll be able to explain himself?
Oh, well, I wouldn't know what. It's clear he's got to step down. He himself said if he could be appointed, he would, step aside, or rather resign. He would abide by, the rules. So he has been fingered. He needs to, to step down, because clearly, it's not even, because I see that people are making it more of a legal issue. We're also talking about moral codes that are clearly stated and which he clearly violated. So if he doesn't step down, then what? What about the office?
Yeah, and also, we do know that the panel's findings are not necessarily binding, right? Even though about 5.3 million rand was used towards this. Now, if it happens that on the 6th of December next week, when Parliament debates the findings of this report, of course, it's going to be a numbers game in terms of all the MPs representing different political parties in that House. And for the moment, the ANC still has most of the numbers in Parliament. What if Parliament decides, because of the numbers game, that there's no impeachment inquiry that needs to go ahead unless calls for a secret ballot are fruitful?
It's exactly for that reason that our view as R2K is that the president should resign.
Maybe use his principle, the same principle that... Yeah, I was saying maybe use his principle, the same principle in general that he used when he suspended Busisiwe Mkhwebane. He said it's because an impeachment inquiry is going ahead against her in Parliament. Maybe he should use the same principle and step aside as president, because how are you going to explain yourself when you've said that somebody else must, be suspended because of the same reason that you're being asked to also step aside?
Absolutely, he should apply his own principle, because we know for a fact that the ANC has got the majority in Parliament. So, they might decide to vote, in favor of the president, and the impeachment would not be successful. It's exactly for that reason that we're saying the president shouldn't even wait for that process. The president should resign. It's resigning from office at this point is a critical ethical decision he needs to make, because he has done something wrong. There are a lot of inactions from his side with regards to Phala, and there are a lot of things that he has done that are just unlawful. So he's got to resign. He doesn't even have to wait for the impeachment process.
Yeah, I mean, violating the PRECA Act is, as far as I understand it, a criminal offence, isn't it? To violate the PRECA Act is a criminal offence. But, when it comes to the ANC and the fact that soon we might find ourselves in a new political reality in our country, once, if it does happen that he is recalled, because we're hearing rumours from different members of the NEC, of the ANC, of course, when we speak to them, that he apparently is saying that he can step aside while investigations continue, but there are those who want him to stay as president, saying, give us a chance to fight. And then you're hearing from others saying that there are already talks with your Kgalema Motlanthe, for instance, to probably take over. But of course, we'll hear after the 7 p.m. Special NEC sitting that's happening tonight. But are you for the call by the DA to have an early election? I mean, this would be the third time that we see an ANC president be recalled if it does happen. And unfortunately, because they are the ruling party, whenever bad things or negative things happen in the ANC, it affects us as a country as well.
Well, I don't think it's necessary for us to have an early election, but it's politics at play. The DA is using the opportunity to have the elections early, hoping that the election would work in their favor, especially under the circumstances and the cloud that is on top of the ANC. I really don't think we need to have an early election, but I'm hoping that the ANC would pass this test, because they failed the test in 2016 when the Court actually found President Zuma to have breached the constitution, and they supported him, they backed him, even against the rule that was made at the time. So I hope today at 7 p.m. they would make the correct decision that is not just in their interest, but in the interest of the entire country.
Well, it's going to be a very interesting few days. It's 15 days to conference, and 2,037 branches giving President Cyril Ramaphosa the go-ahead to continue with wanting to keep his position as president in December. It's also, would you say, an indictment on the ANC itself, even though that list was announced just last week or the week before. They knew that there was this cloud over his head and the possibility that he actually won't be able to stand at all.
I didn't get the question, Maseko.
So basically, I'm saying it was an indictment on the ANC in terms of the branches. The branches are supposed to carry the mandate, right? They're the ones who give the mandate, rather, to those who are elected in powerful positions. And for them for 2037 to give President Cyril Ramaphosa their votes to contest his position in December, knowing that there's a possibility that this panel comes out with such a finding, is also an indictment on the party.
Absolutely. And let's say the president makes it to conference. But would the branches, that's a question I'm asking myself, would the branches still give him as much support, even in light of the report that has recently been released? I don't think so, especially if the branches can stand their ground and not be influenced by any one of those who are contesting.
Yeah, also, it also begs the question on, when you look at those 16 names, a lot of people have been arguing that leadership is dwindling in the ANC and the options are also not very many anymore. But thank you very much for speaking to us. That was Simamkele Fatuse from the Right to Know campaign.